Buying a home is the worst investment that you can make. I'll say it again. Buying a home is the worst investment you can make. That's a statement that's being thrown around a lot right now on the internet, social media, and I wanted to discuss it for a little bit for the consumer, but also for people in the sales and real estate industry so we can have a better understanding of who this statement applies to, why it's being said, and why it's so controversial. Okay? Now, understand that when somebody says a blanket statement such as buying a home is the worst investment you can make, well, that depends. Similar to the answer that I give when somebody asks me, hey, how's the real estate market? Well, that depends. What angle are you coming here from? Are you an investor? Are you a traditional person or buyer who's going to buy one home and make that their forever home? Are you somebody who already owns a ton of property and you're re-entering the market? I mean, the context matters. So with that said, when we say buying a home is the worst investment, well, that depends. If somebody came in grossly overpaid for a home, could barely get qualified to get the home, is life or death every single month making their payment, they can hardly keep up with the maintenance and the taxes, and they're one disaster away from being in financial ruin, then yes, for that couple or that individual, absolutely, that was a terrible investment. I look at somebody like myself as a different example. I didn't buy a home for a while. I bought several real estate investment properties while I rented before I ever bought myself a home for me to live in. You see, but I was financially responsible, I was making a lot of money, and I was strategically putting these things in place. And a lot of times what comes into this equation is social pressure and validation and basically what's acceptable. Because in those two examples that I gave you, that first person who would be life or death every single month would be applauded by people. Oh, you bought a house, you're so good, even though financially it wasn't a good decision for them. Yet me, as I was buying investment properties, I was shamed online. You're a loser, you rent, you don't own a home. And I would literally tell people, I own investment properties that pay me every month. Yeah, but you don't own the home that you live in. I'm like, God, people are just dense, right? So that factors into this equation too. But it's really going to come down to what's the long-term goal and what are you going to do? So simply said, if somebody is going to enter the real estate market, purchase a home, and live there for the rest of their life, and do so responsibly, and at least build up equity, then I don't think it's a bad investment. That's number one. Number two, if you're that first example where you're life or death and you can barely make the payments and you're one disaster away, no, buying a home is not. If somebody's entering the market right now, looking to buy and then sit for only 6 months or a year and then resell, kind of like people were doing before the bubble burst back in the financial crisis of 2008, then I would say no, now is not a good time to do that. And I would say that's a bad investment in that context. If you're somebody like me who's purchasing homes and renting them out and you're thinking long-term buying and holding, then it's a great time to buy if you find a good deal, assuming you're not overpaying and all that. It comes down to the terms and the deal most of the time. But we have to look not just in the short term, but the long term. And when you start to make these decisions and look at the market properly, these actions that you take become a lot easier. Because if you play the long-term game, it requires a lot more planning and it requires a lot more structure, right? So I look at a lot of the people that are close to me now, especially close students who are starting to make money and all that. We're having a lot of discussions about increasing their real estate investment portfolio, starting one, and how they can start structuring their things now financially to put themselves in that position to do it in the future. Or for those of those students who are actually ready right now, some of the things that they can do and the angles that they can take in order to make sure that they're buying good investments. So early on, when I started investing, I invested out of state. I started my real estate and sales career and began to make substantial amounts of money in California when I started. And although my first real estate investment deal was in California, the vast majority after that were in Texas. I considered Kansas City, but didn't get anything there. And then I bought some in Florida. So right now, my real estate investment portfolio includes Florida, South Florida, Texas, outside of Houston, and in the outskirts of Houston, I have a few, and then one, which is the first one that I bought in California. But let me walk you through it. When I got the one in California, I had already decided I didn't want to get an investment in California. Where did the opportunity come up, right? I was out going door to door. I knocked on a door. I happened to talk to an owner of a duplex. He was living in one unit and renting out the other, and it came up that he wanted to sell. So I had a discussion with him, right? I knew I didn't have the money at the time, but I could probably JV, joint venture, with somebody in my original real estate office. So what did I do? I went back, I talked to two people. The other one decided to JV it with me. We got it off market, right? We didn't have to pay a premium for it. We got a smoking deal on it because he was ready to go. And we probably got it a little bit, a chunk under market value. I think at the time, market value was probably around high 300s for that investment. And we got it in the low 300s, right? And we just split all the monthly profits from the rent down the middle. But the only reason I bought that investment was because I got it off market, and it was, like I said earlier, the right deal. And to this day, that property still pays me and my partner to this day. And we've owned it for a very, very long time, about a decade. So I then looked at other opportunities like the tax deed auctions. That's where I started buying and investing in property in Texas. I bought condos out here in Florida at very, very good prices right when I moved here in 2021, right before the surge and then the kind of shift in the market. And to this day, I'm Airbnb-ing those out and they're doing great. But see, different strategy, different market, different type of deal. But I planned, strategized, and made sure when I buy these properties in these locations, I'm doing the right thing. California, buy and hold, long-term tenants in Texas, Airbnb here in a more market where there's movement all year, right? So I looked at it long term. And for myself, these investments were fantastic. The mortgage that I'm paying on those condos here in Florida is a couple $100 a month. And they make me 10 times that every month with Airbnb. So what did I do? I set somebody up. They manage it for me. They rent them out. They get all the cleaning services. I give them a cut of the profit and we're good to go. And it's a hands-off investment for me. Same thing with the ones in Texas and the one in California. I have property management, they take care of it. But when you look at like the tax deed auction properties, I bought them for pennies on the dollar. So whether you buy something in that example for pennies on the dollar back then or now, it would be worth it. Even if a home is grossly, overpriced here. Let's say it's worth $1 million and you can't afford it, but you're able to get it at auction for 300,000 or 400,000. I would say yes, buy that property because you're getting $1 million asset, even if it's inflated a bit, but it's such a reduced price that if I get it for that price, I already have not only instant equity, but if I rent out that property, right? Let's say I can rent it for $4,000 or $5,000 a month. Well, even if I finance at 300,000 or 400,000, I'm going to be profiting. Let's say my mortgage payment at that rate is probably going to be what, like 2,000, 2,500. Let's say it's even 3,000. But if I rent it out for 5,000, right? Even if I'm only making a little bit in cash, right? Again, I'm just giving you general numbers here, but I have a piece of property that I got at an extreme discount that's building equity over time that I'm not looking to flip anytime soon, that's minimum paying for itself or giving me a little bit of cash flow. I'm going to win long term. And imagine if you make investments like that strategically every 6 months, year, or even every 2 or 3 years you get one because you're not balling yet. But that's going to force you to be disciplined with your finances, put a plan together, and start to invest. Because that's really what this is about. And this whole doom and gloom about these statements like, oh, buying a home is the worst investment anybody can make. Well, that depends. Because I've invested in a ton of real estate. I've helped a bunch of other people do it. It can be good. Now, in those same good markets, you can also find bad deals and make bad investments. But instead of it just being this overarching statement that's generally applicable to everybody, again, it depends on the person, the circumstance, the plan, the strategy, and ultimately the deal. Because even in a bad market, if I can get a smoking deal, like you're seeing some people get, then it's, again, a bad time, we can say, to buy, but that was a smoking deal, and that ends up becoming a good investment. That, in the end, was the right thing to do, even in a bad market, bad area, whatever you want to call it. So take a look at the numbers, take the emotion out. If this makes sense, look at your circumstances, have a plan, have a strategy. Again, if you really want to win with real estate, to sum this video up, you got to think and plan long term. That's what you got to do. The people who think ahead, plan long term, and strategize now and do everything every single day to win 5 years from now or 10 years from now, they're the people who win at this game at the highest levels, because that's what real estate investment is all about. Unless you're doing quick fix and flips and all that, then this doesn't apply to you. But for most people, we know that, again, to win, to really become wealthy and all that, you're going to have to play the long-term game, buy and hold. And that's what this is about. I want to acquire property. I want to get good deals. I want to hold them. I want to rent them. I'm going to let them appreciate in value. And in the end, I'm going to win as a smart and savvy investor, and that's what you want. Okay. So I have a ton of free resources in the description if you guys are interested in chatting with me more on developing your investment strategies and all that. More than happy to help you. I have free communities, free giveaways. I also have coaching and training and all that fun stuff if that's what you're interested in. Hit a thumbs up if this is your first time on the channel, and we'll see you on the next one. All right. Peace.